so much, VetArt.org and Placerville. I really appreciate being here. My name is Renee Marie. I am sometimes referred to as Major Marie. And I came into the military in 1983 and stayed in until 1991. I got out of the military and went to graduate school and stayed out of the military until 9/11. I stayed in until 2017 and did get my 20 years. That included a combat command opportunity in Kabul, Afghanistan in 2010, and that was during the surge. I was a commander for a level 2 NATO clinic in Kabul, Afghanistan. What drew me to art was probably just I'm wired as an artist and a poet, writer. I'm also wired as a servant in the name of peace. The art that I create is kind of like awareness of social justice and just the universal challenges that we face. When I'm doing art, I feel most relaxed.
And Marie, can you tell us about your peace tree?
Well, one of the pieces I'm really excited about is this assemblage, sculptural art, that is all from found objects. I did this at American River College, getting a second AA degree using veteran funds, and that was great for me. But this is my poet tree. It's POETREE, and it's all made with found upcycled wire and copper. And I just loved making this. It lights up. You can see that at night. As a published poet and songwriter, and now writing my memoir, this is one of my favorite pieces as a warrior, artist, poet. I'm so happy to share this piece as well. This is a self-portrait. It is created with upcycled panels from Whole Foods, and another piece where I can hang a jacket or my keys or my satchel. I chose pictures that resonate with who I am as a person in the world, as an artist, as a just newly coming in 1960. It starts here, and it felt like I was full of fireworks, and down we go all the way until my retirement in the military and my service in putting peace poles on school campuses. So this one really showcases all of the aspects of my creative warrior spirit in a self-portrait in a triptych. A triptych means 3 pieces. I am so happy to share this piece with you because this reflects what I call art poems. What I like to do is take mixed media, make an assemblage with elements that resonate with me and tell a story along with a poem that I have written. So this one is titled The Fallen One. I hope it resonates with you. This is the ending of the poem right here. It is not a sign of weakness to fall, rather a sign of strength, to hold the soul together among her scars. Thank you for enjoying. Thank you for listening. Please create your art with heart and your poetry, because both are medicine. Fall she may. In its season, the leaf fell. Bugs drank of her juices, killing her softness, fading her colors away. I may fall many times in one season. My defenses may be torn. My colors might fade. It is not a sign of weakness to fall, rather a sign of strength, to hold the soul together among her scars. Fall she may.
What are you two sharing about here? What's going on over here?
Well, we found that we are both lovers of poetry and thinking outside the norm. Am I right?
Yes, because sometimes I think, how should I present my art or what it should be like? Because I like things that reflects my journey. Like when I do raccoon, when I make my vases for raccoon, that ends up being a circle or a square. I take my hands and I just squish it because I'm like, my life is a hot mess sometimes. So I want the piece to reflect how I am. I'm not straight and around a circle and perfect.
It's not
and it
sterilized.
doesn't have to be perfect.
It's not sterilized.
I like what you said because I can connect everything, and I like to use texture and color because that helps keep me in my resiliency zone. When somebody knocks me out, I can just look at color and just touch and feel things and get back in my resiliency zone.
I love that because you know what? Color means we're not sterilized. We're revolutionized. We are all about bringing the color, the texture, the healing.
Yes.
Art and poetry truly is medicine for me.
Yes.
And the VA, I have to say, saved my life.
Well, VetArt saved my life.
I get it, and I like that you understand that the word tribe is no disrespect to our native people, but we're all trying to find our tribe. Art and artists and poets are my tribe.
Yes.
But all of humanity is my family. Do you feel like that too?
Yes.
That all of humanity is a family. We just haven't met yet.
Yes.
But we met.
We met.
Hi, I'm Roy Lizama. I served in Vietnam with the 173rd Airborne Brigade, and I served from 1968 to 1969. I was wounded in action, and due to my injuries, I am now 100% disabled veteran. My art sustains me. My latest passion right now is clay. And clay, when I'm working with clay, it's a singular activity of me and the clay, and it's just an organic activity, and the physicality of the clay, and my dialogue with how to make my cylinders. My cylinders lend themselves to the art of ikebana, a Japanese art of flower arrangement, and I'm a student of flower arrangement now. And anyhow, I'm really grateful that I'm attending this event because I think it's really helpful for me that using art to express myself, it helps me a lot. Thank you.
And how did you get into, what compelled you to get into this specific type of art?
I used to paint and photograph with imagery, and it always brings me back to images of the war, the Vietnam, the dead. And I tried to depict that, which made me a lot more depressed. So with me and the clay, there's no dialogue about trauma or whatever. It's just me and the clay and that relationship.
So Rick, tell me about this art that you're standing next to here.
In general, this stuff is pen and ink wash, watercolors, colored pencils, and I mix those mediums. The subject matter is anything from vintage bicycles and architecture to vintage motorcycles to vintage cars to old and I do little boats, and I do event posters, most of which I'm involved with. There's a lot of those around here. This is an old bicycle and motorcycle swap meet that I do 3 times a year. This is an event that I did was a benefit for some friends of mine who unfortunately lost their lives, some musicians. This is a poster I did for my my wife and my wedding. There's a Chris Craft art here. This is me in Western dress.
Very handsome.
A cathedral in Milan, of which this is actually the front door of in bronze that I did a pen and ink drawing of. My father-in-law is a vintage Ford guy, and I did this for him.
Do you find art healing?
Absolutely. Art is my faithful companion. It doesn't. So is my wife, of course, but it's the one thing that once you have it, it can't abandon you. It won't. It can't. It's always there for you. It's there whenever you need it. It's a refuge. It's a comfort zone. I think everybody needs it. I think everyone is an artist. Some people just haven't necessarily found their medium.
Right on. That's why we're doing VetArt. I'm glad you're here with us. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for having me here.
Right on.
Pop-up art cafes for veterans, by veterans, and with veterans. Before we get started, we have some very important people to recognize. First, we'd like to recognize Terry Monachek and Jordan Hyatt Miller from the Arts and Council of El Dorado County. Can you guys put your hands together for Terry and Jordan? Thank you for having us. And next, we'd like to recognize from the Art Institute, Kathleen Ellertston. Can you wave? Give a round of applause for everybody. Next, as most of you know, or if you don't know, the Mental Health Oversight and Accountability Commission, a California state agency, has funded VetArt for us to be able to come to all these different counties in California and help showcase veterans from all over the state. So can you guys give it up for MASOC, Mental Health Oversight and Accountability Commission? And next, last but not least, our skipper. He's not a veteran himself, but he should be an honorary veteran. He's dedicated his life passion to helping veterans like myself. Can you put your hands together for Steve Dilley. My name is Darren DeVillis, and I'm the Master of Ceremonies here today. And next, I'd like to bring up our cultural representative, Mr. Ivan Sam, to give a land acknowledgement.
Yad Shea Ivan Sam and Jackie Onage Law Twaid Lini Bashichin. Kabaha Dasha Do my Dashkiji Dashanalla with Adanangela. Hello, my name is Ivan Sam. I am a U.S. Navy veteran. Served 2 tours during the Gulf War. I am the cultural ambassador for VetArt project, and I would like to welcome you all here to the Veterans Art Project, Veterans Pop-Up Community Arts Cafe at the Placerville Veterans Memorial Building. Right now, I would like to start with the call to acknowledge First Nations of this land, the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Nisenan, Cayuse, Omatia, and Walla Walla tribal nations. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is their traditional territories. It is also important to acknowledge that this land remains the shared space amongst them as well. Today, I would like for you to join me by learning more about the local indigenous tribes in your community and getting to know the land they once occupied. Responsibility and taking action in acknowledging First Nations and their lands. The acknowledgement of indigenous lands ultimately provides exposure and a learning opportunity for individuals who may have never been on these lands and also the ones that still continue to live here today. It is also worth noting that acknowledging the land is indigenous tribal protocol, and the practice establishes a respectful routine and habit of supporting reconciliation. Building relationships. Land acknowledgement by itself is just a small gesture. It becomes meaningful when coupled with authentic relationship, building community participation, informed intentional action. Building relationships also is also important aspect of starting solidarity as well. A great place to start is going on to tribal gatherings, powwows, tribal museums, or yearly events like California Indian Day celebrations. Reciprocity. Learn about oppression and privilege. Learn about the history of colonization. Learn about California Indian peoples and their cultures. Learn about the land you live on right now. There are many books, blogs, documentaries, tribal nation websites, plays, songs that California Indian people have written and performed that are great places to start learning. I would like to thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you all throughout this event. And I'm going to share some songs here to put some prayers down for the Four Directions and for this event as well. Thank you. Ya hana ne hana yo wana ya na hana yo wa ya na he ya dai ne ya hana yo wana ya na hana yo wa ya hana ne hana yo wana ya na hana yo wa ya na he ya dai ne ya hana yo wana ya na hana yo wa ya hana ne hana yo wana ya na hana yo wa ya na he ya dai ne ya hana yo wana ya na hana yo wa ya hana ne hana yo wana ya na hana yo wa ya na he ya dai ne ya hana yo wana ya na hana yo wa wani le ye wani le ye wani le ye wani le ye wani le ya na hana wani le ye wani le ye wani le ya na hana yo wa wani le ya na hana ne wani le ye wani le ye wani le ya na hana wani le ye wani le ye wani le ya na hana yo wa hana many we chone ayana hene we yana we yana 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 ayana hene many we chone ayano hana we yana ayana hene yo we yana hey yana hey ne many we chone hey yana hey ne we yana hey yana hey ne yo hey ne di kone ke ya bakage Orland America wanana hey yana hey ne yo di kone ke ya bakage Orland, America. Orland, America. When on the hey, like an eagle in the sky, see him fly, forever free, hey, na, hey, ne. Ikone, hekea, bakagi. Orland, America. Orland, America. When on the hey, na, hey, ne, aho. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. That's always so very moving for me. Again, my name is Darren DeVillis, and I am a disabled veteran. I lived with undiagnosed PTSD for 30 years. In fact, in 2008, I was a homeless veteran holding a sign. And when the VA came to me and they said, Mr. DeVillis, you have what's called PTSD. And I thought, okay, PT, that means physical training, and SD, that one means San Diego. Oh, great, I'm just a little out of shape. But I often try to use comedy to minimize what's going on. I knew something a lot worse was at play in my life. I spent 30 years self-medicating, full of nightmares, full of flashbacks, losing custody of my children, going to prison several times. And some years, I built 2 homes for Bill Gates. Some years, I was on top of the world, and things would just crash in an instant. And it wasn't until I saw a therapist. And because in that 30-year period, I was self-medicating with a lot of illegal drugs, the VA sat us down and said, well, you can take these psychotics and these stimulants and these for that. And then they wanted to give me another 6 pills to combat the side effects of all those medications. And I said, you know what, if you give me those medications, you know what I'm gonna do? Give me about 2 months, I'll probably start abusing them. And in about 3 months, I'll start selling them. And then I'll be back to square one. So my therapist made a suggestion. She said, Darren, do you want to try art as a healing modality? And at first I kind of giggled. Art, how's art gonna help me? She literally brought a box of crayons and some construction paper to our first session. And it was right around Thanksgiving, so you know what I did? I did my little Thanksgiving turkey. And I'm no Picasso, but it put a smile on my face, and I got through that session. And then we went on to some other things, some paintings, ceramic work, woodwork. And then I built a mask. And on that mask, I had to design the outside of what I thought people saw in me. And then I had to design the inside of the mask of what was going on in here that I was too afraid to share with people. So in between all this therapy, the VA comes at me and they use these 3 adjectives. They said, you know, your case is complex, it's complicated, and it's individualized. And we want to help you. We want to compensate you for the misery you've been living in. Because you see, Mr. DeVillis, you're unemployable. And the second they used that term, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Unemployable. Wait a minute, I know I got some fight left in me. So I stayed in a men's recovery home for 18 months. And in that 18-month period, I got a Section 8 voucher for veterans. So I got my family back. And that was just the start. I went on to get a master's degree, and now I'm a communication professor of 5 different colleges in San Diego. And then there's what I really love to do most, is that to be here with other veterans and to pass my story on and to help other veterans learn to tell their story. So really the bottom line why we're here is to advocate for art as a healing modality. And is my story unique? No, because each and every one of you either you do have a story to tell, or you know someone who may be holding a sign, or maybe self-medicating to get over their fears and to deal with life. So we need to advocate that art is a new type of healing modality that the VA needs to prescribe in a little yellow bottle. Take the arts. Right? Got 15 years of sobriety. Never taken any medication. And I've been challenged. 2 years ago, my son passed away in a horrible, horrible accident. What did I turn to? My friends at VetArt and art. So it's not only helped me to deal with my PTSD, but it helps me to deal with life in general. And I'm sure each and every one of you can say the same. Now, in addition, Steve wants me to he tells me I got to tell this part of my story because it's powerful just as much as every other part. I just became a homeowner, bought my first home. So it is possible that we can go from holding a sign to putting the Villas Family Home sign. Yeah. And so can each and every one of you, and so you can inspire those veterans who are coming in off the street who have not yet found their voice to help them find their voice. You guys enjoy yourself today. If you see one of these walking around, or if you get one, please scan it. It's going to take you to a survey that we need, because we're going to end up at the state capitol again in October. And we're going to go there and we're going to advocate for veterans. The ones that we worked with and the ones that are still out there that are lost. Sound good? Let me see you smile. Yeah. Have a wonderful day today, you guys. It's kind of an organic process. The crowds filter in and filter out. Tell them your story.
So tell me a little bit about you, what branch you're in, and then what's going on in this booth.
My name's Christopher Leonard. I was in the United States Coast Guard for 10 years with the tactical team, Maritime Safety and Security Team San Francisco. After my Coast Guard time, I went to film school, graduated, and made my film A-Town, which is a police drama. The narrative centers around a rookie police officer and a single mom whose lives collide on the very day that some very bad people show up in their quiet Bay Area suburb.
So what inspired you to do this movie?
Well, I wanted to produce my first feature-length major project. Previously, I'd done things like sketch comedy, some commercials, music videos, things like that. So I wanted to sink my teeth into a larger project. Like I said, previously I've been doing comedy and that sort of thing, lighter-hearted fare. But the filmmaker Kevin Smith said once, I think it was Kevin Smith, said that if you have access to a school bus, then your screenplay should probably have a school bus in it. And as a direct result of being a part of the tactical community in the Coast Guard, I happen to have access to a lot of, military and law enforcement equipment. And of course, my job in the Coast Guard was a law enforcement role, so I understand that atmosphere. They say to write what you know. So, of course, A-Town is not a Coast Guard story. It's focusing on a city police department in the fictional city of Almaden, California. But that is what informed my decision to write a police drama, was access to the resources necessary and a knowledge pool necessary to pull it off.
Right on, very cool. Thank you.
Of El Dorado County. I learned.
Okay, so are you an Army veteran? What
Air
type?
Force.
Air Force. What year were you in?
64, 65.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
So share what you do here, because this is beautiful.
I had my career as a registered nurse, and I joined the Air Force as a nurse. Met my husband and got married and became pregnant, so they kicked me out of the Air Force at that time. Wouldn't let us stay in. So at any rate, life progressed, divorced, remarried, moved to the Northern California area and worked for 25 years as a registered nurse. And when I retired, we joined the Gem and Mineral Club of El Dorado County. I learned how to make these cabochons, which is what you take a rock and polish it, and you make the cabochon. And then I took a class learning how to wrap them with wire. So these are all called wire wrappings. The cabochons wrapped in the wire, gold, silver, some copper, and then I do also some bracelets, earrings. And it just progressed along. Also, after retiring, my husband and I decided to attend a World Gold Panning Championship here in El Dorado County. And we enjoyed it so much, we kind of took it up as a hobby. And since then, we have traveled around the world, several different countries. I have a medal from gold panning in the World Championship, and I also have a medal from Italy and France. These are different places we visited and participated in gold panning over the past 10 years or so.
Wow, that is so cool. Right on. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Thank you.
Joyce, your work is absolutely stunning. And I would like it if you could pick, I'm sure they're all your favorites, but if you could pick your favorite piece of jewelry and tell me the story behind it.
Oh, thank you for the compliment starting out, but I think this is my favorite piece. It's called the Tree of Life. I think it represents that you never know what twist or what pattern your life is going to take and how you're going to branch out. This is the Tree of Life. I like making these and giving them to people to hang in their windows or put somewhere where they see them every day. It represents how all the different things that impact your life, and you go travel up this little trunk and you never know what diversions you're going to have or what path your life may take. And to me, it represents life perfectly.
Alright, so the process I'm going to be showing today is one of the quickie methods of doing automatic art, Pollock style art. It's not how I did these, however, it is an effective way if you're trying to save time. I always begin with a base layer that's a dark layer. All right. Shit. As soon as I have my base layer, I use a metallic base, so it gives that really shiny undertone. Then you drop down to a smaller paint and give yourself thinner lines that end up stacking on top. Whatever knowledge you have of color spectrum, of what happens with what colors when they blend, basically that's the same method that you would apply for your stacking technique. So you don't want to use colors that are going to muddy themselves. You want to make sure you get pretty even coat. As soon as you have like a good amount of paint on your canvas, I highly advise giving it whatever amount of time it takes to dry. Oh, by the way, these are flow acrylics. The Artist Loft Ready Mix Paint flow acrylics. So they they're gonna blend, and they're gonna blend quick. It's not anything thick like your standard paint acrylics.
I have a question. So what is the approximate amount of time that it would take for something like that to dry?
Great question. So it all depends on the amount of paint that you end up putting down as your first layer. So for this, I'm actually intentionally throwing down more paint. These you can tell I had days to let them dry. So in between each layer, I would put, I would give myself, just depending on the temperature of the garage that day, depending on, it's just the factor of the environment that your piece has to dry. So now that I have all the bulky layers on, now I start finessing it with the smaller lines. Thought would be great for today because it's quick.
When you usually, like in your studio space, what method do you use?
So I do for the small bottles, the small flow acrylics, I do go straight from the bottle because I do get a lot of really fine lines. But I use anything from popsicle sticks to like sponge brushes, anything that can hold paint, and it's so much trial and error to get exactly like what you're looking for. But you open? Okay. But yeah, so at this point, normally I would let it dry. This would be the stage. I'm past where I would let it dry. I think for any type of splatter paint, you have to have something that's a signature. For me, it's the black I add at the end. The black in my pieces really stands out against a lot of these neons that I add. I'm hoping to be able to get this totally done before it muddies, so that way it can.
So do you have to let it dry completely before you add the black, or it'll muddy? Or
that's what I would advise.
Okay.
Yeah. For today, I'm not going to do that, but yes, for when you do have time to to wait, let it dry, get the layers exactly how you want them. Yes, I would absolutely advise letting it dry. And the black that I choose is the Artist Loft, the soft body. It's a completely different consistency than every other paint that I use. So on a white canvas background, black really pops. On a black canvas background, the white really pops. So this is the fun part. Once you have all of your, that's how I get paint on my clothes. I love it. It's great. Once you have all your colors added, you go for your pop out color. And I make sure that I add enough black that when the epoxy dries, when you take a look, the paint is lifted. The black is raised off, so it gives you that third dimensional, that third dimensional look. I would do my base coat of my
metallic.
Of the larger bottles, and then the next day I would add my thin layer. But again, it's not something that you do straight from the bottle every time. There's a lot of different application techniques that end up really making this kind of work. Cool about when you're at the end of your can is that you get a really cool spray effect wherever you want it. Gives it that urban feel. This was the most like efficient, quickest, you know. I thought it was gonna be like kind of like limited time, you know, but when you have the time, I definitely advise letting each layer dry so that way you see exactly how it's absorbed into the canvas. You get a feel for the tones, the paint that has mixed, what it creates. And then at the very end, when you add your signature color, which doesn't have to be black, for me it is. That's my signature. And I'm sure it's others as well. But whatever your final layer is, your final touch, you want your canvas to be completely dry and let that be a layer in itself. What's great is that it's a lot of fun. Like this is a style of painting that when you throw on your favorite music and you can just start chucking paint, like you're not going for a self-portrait, you're not going for realism, you're going for non-congruency. Like if you want congruency, you'll never put any paint on the canvas, you know, because it has to be random. So that's what is so appealing, you know, to me about it. That is automatic art in a nutshell. Yeah, that's
awesome.
Any questions?
So you have to wait until it's completely dry to add the epoxy before it...
Yes. And if you do choose to add epoxy, which the majority of mine have epoxy, you absolutely need a mask. Largest one I've done 2 4-foot by 5-foot canvases that each took a week piece. And yeah, it's just a really good time. So I highly recommend trying it out.
How you doing?
I'm good. How
That's
are
great.
you?
I'm doing fine. Do you engage in the arts?
Sometimes.
Oh, great. And how does it make you feel?
Makes me feel good. And, you know, less stress, less anxiety prone. All of those things.
Awesome. Would you like to share that on one of my hearts? And what the purpose of that is, we have this board that's for El Dorado County. The purpose of that is, you know, to get our veterans to go to the Board of Supervisors meeting, the behavioral health meetings, and express at the meetings what art does for their mental health, their mental wellness. You know, and get the word out to let everyone know that art is healing. Art is the modality to mental health.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
What a great message.
And we like to say mental health, but I like to say mental wealth, because we talk about financial wealth, we talk about our physical wealth. Why don't we talk about mental wealth? It's as though people are afraid of that word, mental wealth. You know, I want to thrive in my 60s and 70s and 80s, and art does that. I was expressing with some ladies today that and this is a bad day for me. I'm in pain right now. But guess what? This art is making me feel good. If I would have been at home, I would have popped a few ibuprofens, stayed in my room, isolated, and stayed in bed. But because of this pop-up, I was like, I'm not going to miss this. I'm going to get out the bed. I'm going to connect with other artists, connect with other veterans, and be in my space, my community, my comrades, my village of people that support the arts.
That's a beautiful thing.
So thank you for taking the time to share with us.
I'm going to write.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. We finally got this crew together. We're really looking forward to see what the excitement is with y'all. So tell us about it.
Well, Renee, you were a big part of this, and that you took our name from, VAP in the VetArt. So
Well, I'm really happy to be here. I thought I'd pop in and see Steve. It's been years since I've seen him, and
back in 2009, where it all began, is I was a counselor at Grossmont College, working primarily with veterans at the time, and Steve brought his expertise in with art and his ability to work on so many levels with our veterans. And I was working on the academic counseling and other counseling with our student veterans. And we came together to do a VetArt program combined with the Veterans Transfer Fast Track at Grossmont College. And it was wonderful in that all these guys would come in on Fridays out in the courtyard of the art area. We had bagels, and we had an area for guys just to relax and if they wanted to bring their wives or their children or their husbands, they could do that. But in order to see me to get their ed plan so they could get their check, they had I told them one thing: there's like 7 other guys to see me. You have to make a bowl if you want to see me. So they'd have to go. Then I'd pass them off to Steve, and that's where Steve took them, and he would lead them right to where the clay was, and then the rest became magic. We became quite a team in combining art and counseling and future careers and education. And to see two of my students now that are so incredibly successful working together with Steve was the joy of my life right now to come in. And I just thought I was going to see Steve. I didn't think I was going to see Ivan and Darren, who I've seen grow into incredible success stories. So I'm thrilled to see that, Steve.
Yeah, it was, it was an amazing thing. It was a time when things were we were literally just trying out an idea, and that idea is how can we engage with these veterans at the beginning of their educational journey as a way to open up possibilities for them. And and Renee, you were always amazing. You're always present there. And the one thing I always loved about you is that take no shit for starters, but 2 was you always told those vets, you're like, hey, you know what? I've got 3 people in front of you, and so you need to go over and talk to Steve. And I would take him and get him over into the wheel, and they'd be sitting down, and they're like, I got nice dress shoes on, and then I got my, and I got to roll up my sleeves, and then, I'm all here, dump some water on there, and give them a quick demo. But you could see once their hands got into that clay, it transported them into another opportunity, and they were just in that moment, right? Yeah. And being in that moment is so powerful for individuals. And I think that as a team effort, we were kind of like, they were coming in for academic counseling and getting something else out of it.
Oh yeah, they came back every Friday. Some of our students came back every Friday, and they came back to not only just see us and say hello or do another piece of art, but to meet each other. It became a real hub of connection that had so many possibilities, and unfortunately that dried up the funding. But the magic was already there because the guys met each other. Our female veterans were all part of that, included with the male veterans, and we had families, and we had a real interactive, approach to working together from our expertise areas. College.
Absolutely, and I think that because of another unmentioned person here was Al Ventura, who connected me and Renee, but more importantly, Al connected me to Darren. Al connected me to Ivan, and I remember the first time Al's like, no, you gotta talk to this person, and I'm like, all right, Al, but he's a veteran. And so it really came out to be really deep connections there that allowed us to continue doing our work. And Darren, you were there. I mean,
my phone's going off. I was just getting done with some intense VA therapy using the arts, and now I was going to transfer into school. So when I was told, you got to go make a pot, I'm like, oh, I got this. This is just like therapy. Haha, they don't know, right? But they did know. They knew something much deeper and better was at work in store for us all. Right? Got to meet with Ivan. Got to meet his grandfather. It's just incredible. If you would have told us then that we were going to do this interview now, some 14 years later, Yeah,
No way.
yeah. That's
No way.
you put a little too much on it. That's a little asking a little too much. But you know, we expect actually more, because I mean I do. We just feel that. I feel this is a vocation, a calling from a power greater than me or anyone here that's put us together to help the next generation.
Yes, especially the healing testimony of what we've been through this process too. You know, we all come from all different walks of life, but having that one common ground to really see that testimony of our own process, what we've been through, you know, having that hope and being able to just try a little bit more to open that door and, you know, push a little bit more to make those opportunities happen. You know, we would have never thought we would be here today talking about this story.
Yeah.
But, you know, just having the patience and understanding and you know, sharing our testimony like that, you know, it's created wonders.
To see the growth from when I first met these two young men, transitioning out of the military, finding their way to what they are today, the confidence and just the bloom of what they've become is just, I can't express in words how wonderful that is, and the continued work that they're doing in the community. So they're testament.
Well, it takes two people like you to take the time to help two of us.
Thanks, dude.
You know that?
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of where they were. I don't know if we
Right
can
now.
say that,
Yeah.
but we're trying to,
Yeah.
We're trying to be
you
there.
know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you being here today, Renee, every one of these pop-up has something special to offer me. I walk away. This one takes the cake.
Oh,
So
thank
this takes the cake. I had to double
Don't make
take. I
me
said,
nervous.
is that Renee? I had to say, wait a minute. It is.
reconnect and be part of our society in a very functional, happy way. It's the goal.
What do you think on VetArt? What's the key thing we can continue to share with people?
The beauty of healing and that change process that comes through connecting, through finding a mode of art that speaks to them, that helps them heart heal, and gaining tools through that process, but also finding other veterans and caring people who understand them. My husband's a veteran, and my father's a veteran, and most of my uncles, many of my relatives in the San Joaquin Valley, that was part of what men did, and Mexican culture was to go and serve in the military. So most of my relatives were in the military as far as men go, and so I had a special sensitivity and love, and I think that that comes through to try to help students find out their path and their calling is what I love to do, and to hook up with other incredible people like Steve that have such expertise in helping them find their way to express that has been so healing.
Right on. Thank you for your.
That was good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's amazing to see you guys. It's like talking you all light up. I mean, it's really cool. Like when you were talking about shiny shoes and putting your hands in the, it's like,
Friends forever, artist forever. You've changed lives, Steve. And there's nothing
Yes.
better in the world
That's
than doing
right.
that.
Renee, too.
That's right. People helping people.
That's
Amen.
So we're passing the batons on. So you guys,
Absolutely.
but it's funny because it's like he was saying, and as you can see, it's like, who would ever thought 14 years? You know,
No,
you
th-
have
th-
this, you know?